الحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذا كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات يرسل صلوات الله محمد وآل محمد. And Allah salawat his condolences to Sahib al-Asr al-Salam. al-Mu'mineen is having his sons, the sons of Rasulullah, protect the house of this man. Because Islam has a right upon us. We've become very busy. We've become very focused on the idea that if you don't believe the way I believe, if you don't do what I do, then, for example, you are someone who I don't agree with and I have to fight against and I have to prove you wrong. This wasn't the history of what Islam was. This isn't the history of what the followers of Ahlul Bayt were. There are discussions in poetic senses that describe that even between someone like Abu Dhar and Salman, the difference in their faith and understanding was 1 daraja. That if Abu Dhar was 9, Salman was 10. But between the two of them there was such a difference that poetically they would describe, if Abu Dhar knew what was in the heart of Salman, he would call him a mushrik. And if Salman knew what was in the heart of Abu Dhar, he would call him a kafir. Yet these two, when we look at history, they're brothers. Their difference in their understanding of the position of Ahlul Bayt made no difference in the fact that we look at them as guides and people that we should look up to. Yet in our time, somebody disagrees with us on any subject, we're ready to call them kafir. We're ready to call them a disbeliever. Or at the very least, we've come up with another term that comes out, that anta mukassir, that you are one who has done taqsir, you have shortened the right or refused the right of Ahlul Bayt properly. This isn't a concept, this isn't an Islamic concept. As a matter of fact, the only way that someone can be muqassir is the one who doesn't believe in the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Could be muqassir because he has fallen short of what the completion of the message of Islam is. But the fact that you and I different in how we show love for Ahlul Bayt, you and I have a difference in how we understand the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, does not cast someone out of faith. It's entirely possible, and it has to be, that each of us, as we live our lives, we come to a different understanding and explanation in how to love these A'immah alayhimus salam, how to follow them, and how strong our faith and iman is based upon the challenges and the tests that we face in life. The goal of Amir al-Mu'mineen was that Islam persists, that guidance remains, and the consequence of that was working with all of these people and treating them fairly and equitably regardless of what they deserved. Why? This becomes very important to understand. When you deal with another human being, and you deal with another human being by treating him well, it's not because the person deserves it. It's because they are your wasila to connect with Allah. When I say, I love Allah, I care about Allah, Allah is not going to come in front of me that I can show Him my love and I can show Him that I care for Him and show Him my respect. I show my love and respect for Allah by showing love and respect for Allah's creation and treating Allah's creation well. But even in Allah's creation, all of them are not the same. Those who Allah prefers are the ones I prefer. Which is why Allah makes the statement, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That those who have the highest status with Allah are those who have piety, God-fearingness, who think about Allah in their decisions. So which is why the mu'min will be treated from the non-mu'min. The Muslim will be treated differently from the non-Muslim. All of Allah's creation will be respected, but some have a greater honor than others have. Which is why Imam Ali didn't turn away someone who came and asked him. Imam Ali would help everybody who came and asked him. But there were some companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, some who would say they were the ones with Amir al-Mu'mineen that were treated differently because of what they possessed. For example, there were those companions who when they would ask Imam Ali a question, he would answer them. And then there were others like Kumayl ibn Ziyad, who Imam Ali would take by hand and say, Kumayl, listen to me, I need you to remember this and I need you to narrate this. And Imam Ali would give him the secrets of his knowledge. The instruction this was that all of them were those who are under the banner of Islam, deserved respect and dignity. And it was one of the goals of Imam Ali that Islam should persist in a difficult situation. Today again, we find ourselves and we find Islam in a difficult situation. If we focus on the aspect of creating separation and division amongst the believers, then those who are the enemies of Islam will succeed in their victory against us. But if we understand the principle of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we understand the principles of the Quran. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Don't create differences amongst yourselves. We will be able to survive this instance and follow in the seerah of Ahlul Bayt. Amir al-Mu'mineen would go so far as to say, أُوصِيكُمَا وَجَمِيعِ وَلَدِي
وأهلي ومن بلغه كلامي بتقوى الله وَنَظْمِ أَمْرِكُمْ وَصَلَاحِ ذَاتِ بَيْنِكُمْ. Amir al-Mu'mineen would say, I leave and advise you and leave my will to you, my sons, my family, and whoever this message reaches. It's the will of Amir al-Mu'mineen to all of us. Keep fear of Allah in your hearts and keep your affairs in order and reconcile between people. Never be the source. I can't be the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen if I'm constantly casting people out and away from Ahlul Bayt. If I'm preventing them from coming to the path of Ahlul Bayt. If I'm the one who's creating differences, then how can I be one who follows the wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Instead, what I have done is I have followed my nafs. That if you are like me, then I like you. And if you are not like me, then I hate you. This is the nafs speaking. It's not the teachings of Ahlul Bayt speaking. This nafs in our generation has become very strong. And the reason for that is the ability to create division even more. And we're proud of the fact that in our time we can create more division than the past. How? Look and see, you can create a Facebook group, an Instagram page, an account that is just for people like me. And this is where we have our discussions. And if you're not like us, you shouldn't be here. We've gotten so far as that I have the freedom to reflect any opinion and the world has to listen to me. And if I want to be seen and acknowledged, if my nafs needs to be seen and acknowledged, my opinion should be different than everybody else. I shouldn't be repeating the same things other people are saying. Otherwise, what will make me different in society? So what happened? I use these mediums to, one, insist that something about me has to be different and I am unique because of what I say and how I say it. And people who like me are special because they are like me and they follow me. And it got even worse than this. That not only for the fact that I can express my opinion, but then I have the ability to comment on your opinion. And the ability to comment made another element, that not only can I disagree with you, I can tell you I disagree with you. And I should have something intelligent to say. This need to both initiate conversation and reflect that I am different and I am special. And two, that I can disagree with your opinion and I can have a commentary on your opinion, is all part of the process of strengthening the nafs. Where the nafs is strengthened, it stands in competition with Allah and says, acknowledge me, not Allah. When we look at the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and we see Amir al-Mu'mineen's patience for so many years, he's the one who's teaching you, don't look to what your self-interest is, look to what is the interest of Allah and prefer that. If we were to today look at the interest of Allah rather than the interest of my nafs, we would find that anyone who is willing to love Amir al-Mu'mineen is one who I should join with. Anyone who is willing to stand in salat of Allah, I should join with. Everyone who is willing to consider the morality and the haya that Allah appreciates, I should join with. Instead, what have I done? I've made it such that, no, this is a place for only people who believe like me and only who agree with all of my opinions, are they welcome here? I became the God instead of Allah being the God. And this is a mistake that we've made. And this is against the seerah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, what he sacrificed for over 25 years. And not just 25 years, Amir al-Mu'mineen sacrificed for the entirety of his life. Why? Look and see that even when Amir al-Mu'mineen takes the khilafat and possesses both khilafat and the authority of Allah on this earth, there's a conversation that asks and says, Sayyidah Zahra was martyred when she asked for her right of fadak. The right of fadak was the right of Ahlul Bayt. Then why is it that when Amir al-Mu'mineen took the khilafat, the first thing he didn't do was take back fadak for himself? It was his right. It was the right of his children. It was the inheritance of their mother. Yet look and see the dawr of Amir al-Mu'mineen, who possessed the political authority as well as the spiritual authority. He doesn't come and say, give me my right. If you were to ask him, why? Amir al-Mu'mineen himself explains. He says, when I took the khilafat, it was to return justice to humanity, not to take the khilafat to bring justice to myself and my family. Amir al-Mu'mineen's goal, even as the Khalifa, was to ensure that society follows the religion of Allah, even if he is the one who is sacrificing, even if he is the one who is suffering and giving up his right to preserve the message of Islam. Look in Khutbat al-Shaqshaqiyya how Amir al-Mu'mineen describes this is for 25 years. It was as if there was a thorn in my eye and a bone stuck in my throat when they had stolen my right. If you get a speck in your eye, you get something small in your eye, it's hard for you to see. You have to stop driving. You stop everything else and you say, I need to remove this item before I can move forward. If you get something caught in your throat for a second, it is so painful and uncomfortable that I do whatever I can to remove that difficulty that happens. I met a brother recently and he complained to me. He says, Shaykh, I had the most difficult fast. I said, really? Why was your fast so difficult? He says, Shaykh, I felt as if there was dust stuck in my throat the entire day, and I kept looking to the water to want to take a sip. And I couldn't, and I was uncomfortable with this dust in my throat. Amir al-Mu'mineen describes, he says, it wasn't dust in my throat for 25 years. It was as if there was a bone lodged in my throat when they stole my right. And I saw them abusing the mimbar of Rasulullah for 25 years. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen put aside his desire, put aside his wants, and looked to see what does Allah want and put his nafs to the side. In our time, we have to constantly evaluate. Is it my nafs that's speaking? Is it the desire of Allah that I am representing? Am I someone who is doing what Allah commanded in the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt taught with their example of keeping everyone together? And it wasn't just, for example, Amir al-Mu'mineen. When you look at, for example, even in Karbala, look and see what Imam Hussein does. Someone like Zuhair ibn Qayn, who supported the third Khalifa against Imam Ali. When he comes to Imam Hussein and wants to support Imam Hussein, does he say, no, you are an enemy of my father, go away from here? When you see someone like Hur, who was the open combatant against Imam Hussein, when he wants to make a change in an instance, Imam Hussein accepts him. One of the discussions that comes is, what was the goal of Imam Hussein in Karbala? Was his goal to win victory in the war? Was his goal to go and kill all of these enemies? If that was the goal, we would say, Na'uzubillah, the Imam did not complete his goal. But the goal of the Imam in Karbala was not to kill his enemies, was not to kill those people who were thirsty for his blood. The goal of the Imam, even in that situation, was islah, repair. His goal was to give hidayah to his enemies, to give hidayah to those who submitted to the religion of Allah. We cry for Imam Hussein, but yet look at us. If someone disagrees with us, we wish them death. How can we be the Shia of Imam Hussein when we are the ones who create separation and division and casting people out of the religion, when the Imam was the one who fought to keep people together? When you look at the example of Imam Sadiq, one of his own cousins is responsible for raising a dagger on Imam Sadiq. Yet Imam Sadiq, in the moment of his death, says, I leave 70 dirhams of gold to this cousin of mine. And they say to him, Yabna Rasulullah, he tried to kill you. He literally raised a dagger on you. Imam says, he tried to cut what Allah connected. Why should I let him succeed? I will be the one who joins what Allah has joined. All of the seerah of the Ahlul Bayt is based on the principle of bringing people together and joining people together and bringing community together. And the efforts of Imam Ali of 30 years of imamat was to ensure that Islam and Muslimin stay together. Today, if we call ourselves Shia and we can't sit in one room because there is a difference, a small difference in our ideology, we can't call ourselves Shia anymore, because that's not what the Imam did. That's what we desire. Tonight being the night of the 20th, there are two narrations that I share in this night. One that comes from Sa'sa ibn Sohan, that on the 20th of Ramadan, Amir al-Mu'mineen sent Imam Hassan and said, Hassan, bring the companions so that they can see me once more. And when they gathered, Amir al-Mu'mineen turned to them and said that if you have any questions, ask me now. I don't imagine that you will have another opportunity to ask me again. Sa'sa'a says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have a question if you permit me, but it is a question that I don't know if you'll answer. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Sa'sa'a, what is your question? He says, Man huwa afdal? Who is better, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? Anta afdal, are you better? Or is Adam better than you? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, while I don't like to talk about my own attributes, Allah has also said, فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. For the bounties and blessings that Allah has given you, then explain them. So Sa'sa'a, I tell you, I am better than Adam. Sa'sa'a says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, why are you better than Adam? Amir al-Mu'mineen replies and he says, Sa'sa'a, when Adam was sent to the garden, Allah gave him permission to eat from anything and to enjoy any of his bounties except for one, which was the plant of wheat that was in that garden. Allah said to him, stay away from this. Yet Adam ate from the wheat in that garden. Oh Sa'sa'a, ana khayrun min Adam. I am better than Adam. Why? Because myself and Rasulullah, though we were not forbidden from it, we never ate wheat in the entirety of our life. Which is why the description describes and says, Amir al-Mu'mineen will only eat the bread of barley. Sa'sa'a continues, he says, who is better, Ya Ali, you or Nuh? He asks him about the Ulul Azm. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I am better than Nuh. Because when Nuh was abused by his community after serving them for 950 years, Nuh made dua against the ummah. Ya Sa'sa'a, this ummah has abused Ali more than Nuh was ever abused. Yet Ali has never raised his hands in dua against his community. Therefore, I am better than Nuh. Sa'sa'a says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, are you better or is Ibrahim better? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I am better than Ibrahim. Why are you better than Ibrahim? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, see in the Quran it says that Ibrahim asked Allah, Rabbi arini kayfa tu'hi al-maut. Oh Allah, show me, how do you bring something dead back to life? And Allah asked him, awala tu'min? Oh Ibrahim, don't you have faith in me that I, Allah, can make this happen? Ibrahim replied, Bala, walakin liyatma'inna qalbi. Yes, Allah, I believe in you, but to give itminan to my heart, show me how this happens. And then the story of the 4 birds comes. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Sa'sa'a, I am that one. If Allah removed the curtains of everything that exists between the heavens and the earth, and there was no secret of Allah's left that I had not seen, not a grain, not a dharra of itminan in Allah would change in my heart. Ibrahim needed to see something dead come back to life to have itminan in the authority of Allah. Sa'sa'a, I am that one that my itminan is so complete, nothing can change my itminan in Allah. Therefore, I am better than Ibrahim. Sa'sa'a continues, who is better, you or Musa? Amir al-Mu'mineen replies, I am better than Musa. Why Amir al-Mu'mineen? He explains that he says, when Musa had to go before Fir'aun, he complained to Allah and said, oh Allah, one from the court of Fir'aun I killed. One of the families in the court of Fir'aun, I have killed a relative. I am afraid to go in front of Fir'aun alone. Maybe they would punish me or give me difficulty. Ya Allah, send Harun with me when I go to see Fir'aun. Sa'sa'a, Ali is that one. When Surah Al-Bara'a was revealed, I went alone in front of the people of Mecca, yet there was not a house in the Quraysh except that I had killed one of their relatives. Yet I was not afraid to fulfill the command of Allah. Therefore I am better than Musa. Finally Sa'sa'a says, who is better, you or Isa? Amir al-Mu'mineen replies and says, I am better than Isa. Sa'sa'a says, how? Imam Ali replies, he says, when it came time for Maryam to give birth to Isa, she was inside of the house of worship and Jibreel came to her and said, Hada baytul ibada laysul baytul wilada. That this is the house of worship, not the place of giving birth. Maryam, leave this place. It is not appropriate for Isa to be born here. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen says, when my mother Fatima went to the precincts of the Kaaba, Allah opened the walls of the Kaaba and said, come in, this is the place where Ali will be born. Therefore, O Sa'sa'a, I am greater than Isa. Because when Maryam was cast out of the house of worship for Isa to be born, my mother Fatima was brought into the house of worship where I would be born. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This is one of the narrations of the 20th of the day of Ramadan after the striking of Imam Ali. The other narration that comes to us is from a companion by the name of Asbagh ibn Nabat. Asbagh's narration is different. When Imam Ali was struck, they carried him and they brought him to his house. All of the ashab that were in the area had come to the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen and stood by the door. Eventually, Imam Ali went to Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, said, my daughters are coming to see me. O Hassan, ask all of the companions to leave the door. Tell them to return to their houses. This is not the time for me to see them. Asbagh narrates, when Imam Hassan came out, everyone left, but I stayed. He says, I couldn't bring myself to go away from the door of Imam Ali, even in that condition, even though he had commanded me. So I sat outside of the door of the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Hassan allowed for the sisters to come in, and they describe and say that when Sayyidah Zainab and her sisters came to their father and they saw their father in that condition, they began to cry in very loud voices. When they began to weep at seeing the head of their father split, the condition of their father in this way, their crying was so loud. Asbagh says, I was sitting outside. When I heard the cries of Zainab, I began to cry. He says, when I began to cry, my voice became raised in my weeping at the loss of Amir al-Mu'mineen. From inside, Imam Ali said, Oh Hassan, did I not tell you to ask everyone to leave? Imam Hassan says, Baba, I did exactly as you commanded me. Imam Ali says, someone is outside. Look and understand the condition. Amir al-Mu'mineen is in the final days of his life. He has been mortally wounded. Yet Ali has a dislike that the crying of his daughters should be heard by other men. Oh, Amir al-Mu'mineen, it is not long this after that it will be the streets of Kufa. It will be your daughters tied to the backs of camels. And not only will they be crying, but they will be the ones who will admonish this nation for the murder of your son Hussein. But Amir al-Mu'mineen could not bear it. He sent Imam Hassan outside. Imam Hassan sees Asbagh and says, Asbagh, did not my father command you to leave? Why are you still here? Asbagh says, Ibn Rasulullah, I am anxious at the separation from my master. Is there any chance that I might see him once more? Is there any chance that I might sit by him for a moment? Imam Hassan takes permission, brings Asbagh back into the house. Asbagh says, when I saw Ali in this bed, already his face has changed to such a yellow color, and he had a yellow amama wrapped on his head. I could not tell what was more yellow, the face of Ali or the turban he wore on his head. He says, I threw myself on my master. I lay there weeping on Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Asbagh, why are you crying? I am certainly going to heaven. There is nothing to cry about. The affair of Ali is settled with Allah. Asbagh says, Mawla, I am not crying because that you are going to heaven or not. I am crying that what will my life be after you? How shall I survive in this earth when you are gone from here? He says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, before you leave me, I used to love to listen to you tell me of the narrations of Rasulullah. Amir al-Mu'mineen, will you give me one narration of Rasulullah before you leave me? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Asbagh, I remember the days that were the final days of Rasulullah. When Rasulullah lay on his bed, he gave me an instruction and told me to gather the community and narrate to them a hadith. So therefore I left the Prophet's company. I went to Masjid al-Nabawi. I gathered all the people. I sat on the seat of Rasulullah and I narrated, O people, one who is unfair to their father, one who is unfair and does not give the price to the one who serves them, is accursed in the way of Allah and will receive punishment from Allah. The one who broke the door spoke up in that moment and said, "Oh Ali, you have given us the message, but we don't understand what it means." Imam Ali says, "Oh Asbagh, I came down from the pulpit. I went back to Rasulullah. I asked him to explain to me this meaning. And then I returned to the masjid and gathered the people again. And I explained to them that I am your father that you have disrespected. I am the one who has given you a service that you have not paid. That I am the one that if you separate from me, that you will be the ones who are accursed by Allah and punished by Allah." Asbagh says, upon hearing this narration of Amir al-Mu'mineen, whose status was so adeem that Rasulullah would explain it, I kissed Amir al-Mu'mineen and I left his company. This is that day in which the affair was understood that the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen is very limited. They said that they called a doctor to check on the condition of Amir al-Mu'mineen because it was not just the wound, but a poison that was used in that sword when it struck Amir al-Mu'mineen. When the doctor came, he explained and he says, "There is no cure for this poison." They said, "Oh doctor, is there nothing we can do?" He explained and he says, "You don't understand. If a drop of this poison had been placed into a well, the entirety of a village would have been killed by this poison. This is only Ali ibn Abi Talib that he is still alive till this moment and he has not been overcome by this poison." He explained and he says, "But I tell you one thing, to reduce his pain in this condition, if you bring some milk to him, it will calm the pain that Ali is in." When this news spread in Medina, Imam Hassan says, I opened the door. I found in front of the door the Aitam of Medina, the orphans of the city, had gathered in front of the door of our house with glasses and containers of milk of whatever they had. I said to these children, "Why are you here?" They said, "Our father is sick. Whenever we would be afraid, whenever someone would cause us harm, whenever someone would abuse us, we would run to Amir al-Mu'mineen and he would care for us. Today, if there is anything we can do to save the one who cares for us, we've come with whatever we can bring, that maybe Allah will keep him in our company." They say Imam Hassan tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, the children have gathered. Amir al-Mu'mineen replies and says, "I am one who has never taken the right of an orphan. How today that Ali could take something from these orphans? Oh Hassan, return them kindly." Even the orphans were those who knew that there is no shelter after Amir al-Mu'mineen. There is no one who will love them the way Amir al-Mu'mineen would. This is that day in which the wasiyah were made. Those wasayah that were made, there's a description that says that Amir al-Mu'mineen grabbed all of his children, sat them together and began to give them his will. Every child he would turn to and say, "You are now in the hands of Al-Hassan. You are now in the hands of Al-Hassan. Hassan is the authority over you." Until eventually, there was a lady who was standing in the back, began to cry. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "Ali is alive, why is one of you crying?" They said, "This is al-Baneen who is weeping." Amir al-Mu'mineen says, al-Baneen, why are you crying?" She says, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, you put everyone in the care of Al-Hassan, but there is my son Abbas that you did not give in the hands of Hassan. Has he done something wrong that you have not left an inheritance for him?" Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "No, this Abbas I put in the hands of Hussein." And then they describe that he took the corner of the chadar, of the rida of the women, and took it and put it in the hand of Abbas. And explained and said, "Abbas, now you are the one who will take care of all of them." This inheritance, when it was done, Sayyidah Zainab went and sat next to her father. And she says, "Baba, I have heard a narration of Ayman. I want to know if it is true." Amir al-Mu'mineen replies, "Zainab, it is as you have heard." She says, "Baba, I will not understand it until you say it." Amir al-Mu'mineen describes and says that, O Zainab, a day will come of great bala upon you. There will come a day when your brothers will be killed. There will come a day when your rida will be stolen from you. There will come a day you will be taken